Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Legacy Leaders. Yours truly, Scott MacMeans, is joined today by Deborah Coviello. She is the drop-in CEO. What an interesting title for business. But what's better is what she does. So probably going to think about a little bit differently. What is a drop-in CEO? She comes in and helps, right? Well, let's listen to Deborah. So I'm going to let the microphone and camera be hers. She's going to tell us her story, what she does, how well she does it, why people like working with her, and we'll start talking about some good questions. So, Deborah, microphone and camera are yours. Tell us your story.
All right, Scott. Well, thank you so much. And I'm just grateful that you reached out to me. And I love the pre-conversation we had. And
Mm.
how much time do I have to tell your audience about who I am? But, at the heart of it all, I'd like to start out with the personal. I'm actually a Jersey girl. I know you were reaching out to folks in the Ohio area, but if you hear me, my vowels sound a little bit off as that Jersey coming through. But Cincinnati, Ohio, we just celebrated our 37th wedding anniversary, my husband and I, three adult children, all doing
Right.
wonderful things. But for me, I was a creative when I was younger, and I won't bore you with all of those details. But when I went into the school system, the education system, I kind of switched gears and became a STEM professional. I liked math, I liked science, problem solving. Fast forward, engineering degree, and later went into manufacturing, electronics industry, chemical and flavor and fragrance and food industry. Oh my, going from let's just make sure we deliver a quality product to our customers to, oh my, we are responsible for the food chain and we might kill people if we don't mitigate risks. So, talk about a varied background in industry. And what made me a little bit different was I went into the quality and operational excellence arena. Again, how to make things better, faster, cheaper, safer. Loved what I did, also rose to higher levels of leadership, being the head of quality and OpEx for North America for a global company. Loved it. Great achievements. Also went through a lot of crisis and burnout. But the
Mm.
best thing that ever happened to me, and I claim this, I didn't originally, was I got kicked out of the nest. And it doesn't matter what actually happened, but I knew leading up to that, things were changing for me. I was missing something. I couldn't de-stress. I knew I still had skills. So started my own consultancy, started out as Illumination Partners, as the business entity. But as I discovered who I was and I started podcasting to kind of tell people, market my brand, what do I
Mhm.
do? I realized I said to somebody, I'm like the drop-in CEO. And they said, "Oh my goodness, that's brilliant." And I shared the story with them. And it was one of those things I said, "You should brand that. That should be who you are." And I didn't claim that for a while. But fast forward about 6 months, I trademarked the drop in CEO. My
Love it.
main business model is consulting, but I also am a coach. So I play in the messy middle between coaching executives as well as helping to solve their business issues. But again, the creative, I love writing, I love speaking. Can you tell? Panel moderation, podcasting. I love the creative medium, all in an effort to connect with people and see how we can all help each other. So maybe I went over
Love it.
my 90 seconds or so, but I think maybe I'll pause there. I got a lot more to share, but I
No,
think you
you're
got a few
good.
questions there.
No, you're good. This is really interesting because, okay, what I find interesting about letting people talk is there's always little nuggets they drop
Hmm.
along the
Hmm.
way that they may or may not recognize what they're dropping. So, first, Jersey girl wouldn't know that, but thank you for making that clarification and letting us know. I am intrigued by the creative that turns to STEM because that typically does not happen. So that means both your left and right brain are working in
No
concert or
wonder I'm
against
so
it,
exhausted.
right? They're either working in concert with each other or they're fighting each other constantly. I don't know what happens inside your brain, but that's normally what creatives and STEM people kind of deal with, right? But the fact that you're able to build a career out of that is exceptional. The fact that you made comment about burnout, you're not alone. Everybody goes through it. Yours truly experienced it as well. When you're doing all these high level, high executive things and you're just grinding and pushing and making accomplishments happen, which is great. Before you realize it, you look back and go, wow, what a great road I've traveled. But man,
Yes.
I'm exhausted. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beating me down, right? And what we don't want that to happen because when your burnout happens, you start to give up, and that's not what we want to do. You getting kicked out of the nest, probably the best thing that ever happened. Excuse me, ever happened to you because you got a chance to start anew, which is great. And I want people to realize when you're starting a business or you're currently working in whatever job you have, you're always you're always young enough to start over. You're always young enough to
Ooh,
start something new,
hell
right?
yeah.
And when you think about all the different things you do, it's interesting how you transitioned all these different roles and different responsibilities. But the one thing that you said was at the close to the end of the conversation, you said, "What I love to do is find ways to connect with people." And that tells me you're more of a people pleasing type personality than you are a hard driver of numbers and analytics. Not that you won't be, but you like to connect with people because that's your true nature. And that's what makes businesses run is how do you connect with people? I recently had a conversation with somebody about the idea, how do you make a customer experience better? Make it personal, right? So when you connect with people, the world becomes a lot smaller and you get a lot bigger as far as somebody's center to their experience. And that's what I think is really important about what you said. I'm not trying to read between the lines, but that's what I read as you were talking. So I want to make sure I'm on point. Do you think I agree, I set you up the right way?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for reading reading the tea leaves about who I am. Again, I think you can play in both spaces. Again,
Mm,
I'm technical person. I can solve problems. I was praised. I was celebrated. I got a good salary because I was able to do that. But I think when you're so outside of your lane, again, I can do the work. And I think people need to think about it. When your energy is constantly in one place, but you don't fulfill the other part of like the connecting with
mhm,
the people and the creative side. Now, my creative side now happens to be I cook. I like to entertain, but then I found the outlet of writing and
mm,
consuming podcasts and putting my own thought leadership out there. That's where my energy comes from. Now, get this, I actually, when you take those profiles, I am an ISTJ. There's that introvert. But I think it's just, I have to put myself out there to connect with people, and I just get so fulfilled. The introvert comes when, okay, I'm a little exhausted connecting with people. I need to go to my quiet place for a few minutes. Let me
yeah,
re energize. Even when we entertain people, Deb disappears for 5 minutes every hour just to kind of get that energy back so I can be everything. But to your point about business, now, when I was in operations and manufacturing, they don't teach you about business. They hammer you to get the results. And after a while, that gets exhausting. But what I learned by going into my business was, I'm nothing without my network. I had to build a brand. I had to build credibility. I had to stand out. I had to be different. There are so many consultants out there. And with time, I learned who, who, who can I serve? Who gets me? Who do I get? And
mhm,
so the networking was wide when I started, but then started getting more and more narrower and more intimate as I realized who can I serve or who gets me? Who can I work with in those partnerships? And ultimately, I'm noticing the relationships are richer and
mm.
more good is happening, not necessarily in a transaction, but I feel more fulfilled. And I think the people I connect with feel a better connection. So again, business is based on like that human connection. The transaction comes later.
Yeah, I would agree with the transaction piece. One of the things that I have come to the conclusion on when it comes to building a team, trust me, I'm going to get somewhere.
Sure.
It used to be, do you have the right people on the bus? Then it transitioned to, are the right people that are on the bus in the right seats?
Ooh,
Now
yeah.
there's such a point where, all right, the right people are on your bus and they're sitting in the right seat, but are they good at what they do and do they like what they're doing? Right. So
Yeah.
there's an interesting thought process, right? Because as owners, business leaders, managers, we are trying to put people in processes or processes that make things work. And as long as they're good at it, we're okay. But what if they really don't like doing it? Right. So as an owner, it's imperative that we pay attention to who's on the bus, what seat are they in, are they good at that? Do they like doing it? And do they produce well? That cascade is now changed because so many people are not aligned to or motivated by their job. They're simply there to collect a paycheck. And as an owner, I think we need to change the world to get back to you're here for a reason. I'm not paying you to be here because I think you're really awesome. I'm paying you because you contribute to my business. But my business gives you something more than just a place to make money. It gives you a place to be fulfilled as you made the relationships are richer. My contribution is acknowledged and appreciated. There's so much more to the nuances of building a business than just transactional. And I think the more we get away from human to human contact and more systemized AI type stuff, the harder it's going to be for people, especially owners, to connect with their team in such a way that they want to be there for the reasons they want to be there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, to add on to what you say, I did a blog post about this, and it has three words to it: passion, need, and want. And this goes for anybody
Mhm.
that's out there in the corporate world, looking for a job. Do you want it, the job, because, hey, I like the people there? Do you need it because, well, financially, I have to support my family? And are you passionate about it? Which that's the cherry
Mhm.
on top. If you need, want, and are passionate about your work. And I say that if you only have two out of that three triad, you're probably good for a couple years. Again, message to the business owner.
Yeah.
You need to stay close to that individual to challenge them, move them around, etc., so they continue with that passion. And if anybody's in a role and they only, like you say, they are in it because they need the money, but they really don't want the role and they're not passionate about it, you're talking about 6 months before they take off. Again, don't quote me on that number, but you get the gist of it.
Right.
We, yes, are in business to serve customers and clients and make money. That's why we have these businesses. But I suggest, to your point as well, is that we need to have a strategic line item in our business plan on how we are maintaining and developing that talent, because then that's the sustainability and enables that business growth.
Yes, 100%. There is a neat descript or a neat part of a presentation I love to do, talking to brand new business owners, and it's business owners at the top, teammates, customers, and then business. And I say, how many of you are the business owner and you take care of your business, you take care of your customers, and you take care of your employees all at the same time? You're doing this constantly. Everybody raises their hand. Oh yeah, because I'm the best. I said, what if I were to tell you, if you stop taking care of your business in the way you're doing it, and you stopped interacting with your customers the way you do it, and focused 100% of your energy on making sure your teammates are empowered, they have the authority, the accountability, and the autonomy to do their job as it's described, and you appreciate them, I guarantee you your business will transform overnight, if not less than 30 days. Empower your team to do the job you want them to do. And what we find out is through that little quick algorithm, most business owners that interact with customers, they subvent or they cut their teammates off at the knees, because whatever the process is to take care of a customer, the owner takes care of it and doesn't give the teammate the power to do it. And before you know it, the owner's fielding every phone call. They're doing every phone call, right? If you would just empower your teammates to do that stuff, they'll do it for you.
Yeah, you and I are of the same philosophy here. I talk about that in my book, The CEO's Compass, Your Guide to Get Back on Track. We are celebrated for getting results, but really we need to focus on the performance of the team. And performance are not the sales, the EBITDA, the market share, et cetera, but it's the performance of your team. If
Mm.
we can focus on the people, the individual performance, the dynamics between individuals and their performance, and we as leaders, our role is to remove the barriers and develop their essential skills. Ultimately, you give them a job description, you give them an expectation, remove the barriers, celebrate or evolve their essential skills. They're going to rise to the occasion and do the work that's needed to be done. And ultimately, rather than leaders chasing these results, they will be able to achieve peace of mind, because the people closest to your customer are going to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and they're going to protect you and the customer. That's peace of mind when, like you say, you can back away because the team, the highly talented team that you hired and you're supporting, is now taking care of the customer. And you can step back and then maybe just continue to focus on evolving the team or other areas of your business.
100%. And that's what ends up happening in that little diagram. You, as the owner, take care of your team. The team takes care of the customer. The customer takes care of the business. And what does the business do? It takes care of the owner. Just goes right back in circle, right?
Mm,
So instead
beautiful.
of trying to be everything to everybody, hire the right people, put them in the right seat, and make sure they're good at and they enjoy doing their job because of a motivation that they have for what they do, right? Good
Yeah.
leaders are people that take people in a new direction that they never thought was possible because they motivated them to do it. That is a leader, right? If you take that mentality as a business owner, how am I going to get these 33 people that work for me to go to that mountaintop? All right, I got to find a way to
Yeah.
motivate you. What's the motivation? All right, well, let's look at our vision and our mission. That's good enough motivation for most anybody. Because I would imagine, much like 80% of time somebody leaves an organization, they tell them, I'm leaving because I can go make more money somewhere else. But when they are really truly asked why they left, I was underappreciated or I didn't like my manager, right? So if you can find a way to cut off 80% of people departing your organization
Yeah.
by just doing the right things to empower them to be better employees, instead of giving them more money, and if they earn more money, by all means, give it to them because they earned it and they get the bonuses and all that. But it's not about money. It's about contribution. It's about being part of something bigger than themselves. Find the motivation that you can give others that they can follow. And I swear to God, you're gonna have an amazing business. Shocking, right? That how many people
Yeah.
don't do this. I
And
don't understand it.
And I'd love to piggyback on what you're saying. Now you talk about the owner taking care of the people who will take care of the customers, that'll take care of
Mhm.
the customers will eventually take care of the owners, giving them the time to then think about then what is my ultimate purpose? Because at some point you may no longer be that owner, and then people are not going to remember you for just getting the results. So when I go into an organization and I look at the landscape, one, I got to focus on the owner just like you. And I have these three, actually four simple words of how do I lift them up? Because maybe they've lost their confidence or lost their way. We shine a light on their gifts and say, hey, your gift could be to inspire the people,
Mhm.
because then it enables them to lead differently, but ultimately to leave a legacy, because the people that are in your care are going to remember you for how you made them feel. They may be the next owners or leaders of the company, and when you're gone or you've moved into something else, it's the legacy that lives on that people remember
Mhm.
you by, versus just a moment in time where you got a particular result in a certain number of customers. So owners need to even think beyond just the business.
Yeah, one of the things we do what we do with all of our clientele. What do you want to do for your business to grow up? Or what's your business going to be when it grows up, right?
Mhm.
What do you want to do with it? Is it going to be a legacy that you just have somebody else run and you make money off of it every year?
Yep.
Are you going to sell it for a ton of money and have it live on beyond you? Or are you going to give it to your children as an inheritance? I don't care what your end point is, but you'd be surprised. I'm not you probably wouldn't be surprised, but the audience would be very much surprised to learn how many businesses are started without an endpoint in mind. They're just doing it because I've always wanted to be a
Yeah.
business owner, so I'm doing it. Okay, let's take a time and just ask, what do you want your business to be when it grows up? And then you can work your way backwards as far as a plan. So somebody like you can drop in and help them build that plan and execute it. That's exactly what we're talking about, right? Is how do we get people to understand their business differently than just, I'm a really good technician. I want to do this for the rest of my life because I own my business. Now we think, what are you going to leave behind?
I agree owners need to think differently. I mean,
Mm.
the area consulting is tough there. We are a dime a dozen. That's why I branded myself the drop-in CEO. But we do need to get owners, small and medium-sized business owners, to think a little bit differently. You may have started this baby with a few group of people that now wear multiple hats and they're loyal, et cetera. But at some point, it's your core competency, but
Mhm.
sometimes they hold off hiring people, and maybe you cannot afford a full-time person. A different in mindset is, how do you flex your workforce depending on the different needs
Mhm.
at the different time? And so by which consultant, coach, fractional leader to help you with a particular stepping point or transformation, and then be okay with, okay, then you no longer need that resource. So again, I going into business owners, it's not just how do you run your business. You definitely need to think differently. Your employee model may change. You may have flexible resources depending on where you're at. Focus on your core competencies. It's not just your internal employees that you
Yeah,
have to make sure that they're in the right roles and properly supported. But then how do you bolt on additional support, expertise, coaching, whatever, at those critical junctures? That all has to be part of your strategic planning.
I would agree. What's
Mm.
the community that you're building around you, right?
Yeah, I mean, talk about networking. I had a great internal network while I was within a corporate environment, but when I got kicked out of the nest, it was like, I'm looking around, it's lonely out here. I didn't have that
Mhm.
external network. So I talked to C-suite leaders. They said, make sure you start building up your external network now, because again, you talk about focusing on your core and supporting your people so they take care of the customer. But at the same point, they also need to be continually networking, because the worst time to look for, well, who can help me with this catastrophe?
Hmm.
It's the worst first time, because then you're starting out from ground zero, start networking with all of those resources, whether it's in infrastructure or IT or cybersecurity or safety or HR business partners, whatever it is, have that arsenal, that network behind you. So when you need to pull the trigger, you can move fast. Because again, small and medium sized businesses don't have time. They have to move fast when the conditions change.
Especially when you have a group of people that can help you, the sooner you tap into them, the better off you're going to be, right?
Yep.
And what I found, because of some of the group stuff that we do, other business owners are more than happy to jump in and help you. And it's the craziest thing, right? You get a group of people together in a room. Guy runs a construction company. A guy runs HVAC company. There's a pest control guy, whatever the group is. All of a sudden, they're talking to each other about the exact same problem, right? They're
Yep.
all having a problem with payroll. They're all having a problem with whatever. And they're able to identify, oh, well, this is what I did. Do you think that would work for you? And before you know it, these three, four different people are talking about how to solve a problem that is not in their business and not in their industry, but it's the same darn problem, right? It's always the same problems. And I've said this before, it's time, money, people, or motivation. Every business problem you have falls into one of those four categories. It probably could touch more than one of those categories, depending on how you really take a look at it. But there are problems in business. It's going to happen. But there's so many support systems out there that you can tap into that make your business more successful because you're willing to be open to it. And that's the challenge I think most business owners have is being willing and open to the idea of getting and asking for help.
And it could take many forms. Again,
Mm-hmm.
communities, networking organizations. I know you support a lot of that as well. I took a slightly different path. I mean, I do go to networking events or where my peeps happen to be. But I found great power for me in the area of podcasting because I reach out or I have people reach out to me that want to have a conversation. But it's not just about the conversation and providing value to these people. I want to know about that person. What lights them up? What are they good at? Because that's how I'm building my network. I have met my videographer, my book coach, all of my different coaches to help me as a business owner as I start building out different parts from my brand messaging to my sales coach, etc. Find your network, find a way to build
Yeah.
that network. So I at any time, either I can pull the trigger on all of these experts, or if my customers say, Deb, you help me with this quality issue. You got somebody in safety. Let me get somebody for you. Because
Yeah.
maybe it's not just to serve myself, but how do I help the community of people that I know?
That's wonderful because the idea of being at the center of a community that serves multiple people, it shows you as somebody that's reliable. I can trust you, and you
Yes,
always introduce me to the right people. Okay, that's somebody that wants to come back and deal with you again. May not be what you want, right? As a drop-in CEO, they may not ask you to come and work for them,
I know,
but
but
they know you well enough, and eventually it's going to come down to the okay, Deb, come on in. We really need your help. I like the idea of. I've said this before. I don't know exactly how to help you, but I do know a guy. Give me a second. I'll make an introduction on email, or I'll introduce you next time I see him. Or you know what? Let me put together a phone call between the three of us, and I'll hand it off. That is amazing when you get that done. And again, it's not. I know so many people. It's listen. You have a problem or a situation. I don't know enough about it, but I do know a guy that could probably help you. Why would I stand in the way of helping somebody out since I know somebody in that space? Here you go. And it's wonderful to see that happen because now I get to be seen as somebody that is known, liked, and trusted because I'm not introducing people just for the sake of making an introduction. I'm doing it because I know
yeah,
enough about your problem, Deb, that I will introduce you to quote unquote Robert because Robert's really good at that. Fine, right? And that's the key is when you do these community type things or when you introduce people, you have to do it with the right mindset. And I'm saying that because excuse me, you want to make sure that you're introducing right-minded people to right-minded people. It'd be really tough to hand over somebody who's rough around the edges to somebody who doesn't like that type of communication, right? I mean,
I know,
that's
I know.
simple. But the idea of building a community around like trust, that's a good thing. It's a really good thing.
And the benefits of it is that you are investing in your future because right now, when I entered into being a consultant, About 6 years ago, the first referrals and my second set of referrals all came from people that I built relationships 5 and 10 years prior. So, and then what happens is you're in service to them, then they refer you to other people, but then you still it's a runway, 2 to 3 years to establish
Mhm.
that long trust and be introduced to others. So you have to be of the mindset, build that community of trusted partners, because if you're not, and maybe your business or contracts or what have you end, you're going to be lonely again because you
Yeah.
haven't planted the seeds with enough people, to your point of being a trusted resource, not necessarily going for the transaction.
Okay, that's a great way to end that conversation, right? The transaction is important, but if it's only transactional, people get tired of it.
Yeah,
We talked about burnout, right?
yeah, yeah.
How many different people have been very transactional in your past that are no longer a part of your present or future,
Oh God, let's not
right?
go there. That takes us down a
Right?
bad path. I'm the optimist here, but yeah, I've had people come across my doorstep one and done, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. I just have to find the people that care for one and many.
Well, okay, that's another part of being a good business owner, surrounding yourself with the people that have your best interest in mind and are willing to tell you no when you need to be told no. And that's something that you and I both share is we don't have a problem telling our clients no because they're trying to be successful and they keep shining object chasing over here as opposed to, hey, our path is right here. Stop looking at shiny objects and really pay attention to what we're doing. Now, because I've had this happen to me most recently, if you truly want to pursue that, which one of these three objectives in the next 90 days are you going to derail because you're going to go chase that?
And
Oh,
I am going to be having a conversation later today with a current client. Love them. They love me. We're doing great stuff, but we had a particular agreement. We're going to do this by this date. And the owner and the shiny penny is constantly moving the pieces. And the
uh,
people that really care about getting this work done are getting pulled in so many directions. They want to be successful, but when you stress the resources, you're going to lose the people. And actually, they've
yeah.
lost a few people. So we're going to be having a conversation. It may be not so good for me that we slow down the work or pause the work, but I care about them and I care about their people. We might need to pause this while you stabilize what you're doing, and we'll
Mhm.
pick up next year with this work
Yeah.
when everybody's ready.
Or let's recognize what the true goal is that we're trying to accomplish, right? If it's a
Right.
short-term emergency, okay. But if
Yeah.
it's a derailment, okay. How serious were you about your original goal, right? And again, I'm
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cast anything onto that client, but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
This is not a unique situation to us, right? Because everybody wants to be successful and they think, well, that's cool. I'm gonna go try that. Let's try that when we're done with this. Could we just get back to what we're focused on? I love this conversation. I wanted to ask you if there was a business lesson you want somebody to learn from your experience, Deb, what is one of the most significant business lessons you've learned over the years that you think a new business owner should probably put in their quiver and use because they can shorten their time from now to success?
Well, we have talked a little bit about it as having the courage to ask for help,
Mhm.
because what stands in the way is their pride that, hey, I've been able to overcome and do this before with the resources and be the hero and the firefighter because we've weathered the storm before. That is your superpower and also your demise. So again, don't wait too
Mhm.
long to ask for help. That's one thing because I experienced that in my last corporate job, and I think that's what burnt me out. And ultimately, let's part ways and just go in another direction. We don't want that happening to a business owner because who are you parting ways from?
Yeah, right, right,
Uh,
right.
but I will tell you part two. Once I was in my own business, I didn't understand what business development was. I just knew
Mhm.
get the contracts and let's do the work. And I was successful in my first 16 months. But because I didn't have a business development cycle or a continual nurturing networking engine, then the work dried up. And most people say, "Oh, it was a pandemic. Oh, it was supply chain." No, you didn't do the work to continually nurture those things. So
Yeah,
again, as a CEO, either yourself or whoever, you need to continue to be building those relationships to weather the storm when business goes in many different directions.
great answer. I like the idea of saying, you know, have the courage to seek help because you've experienced that and you actually went out and found it, which is great. And then knowing, all right, my pipeline is great, but I can never stop building or filling the pipeline. It always has to keep going.
Yes.
And when you talk about marketing, and we have our 6 steps to business success, right? That's what I work with. And one of the steps is marketing. And everybody wants to jump marketing, get right into the next step. And my comment is always, oh, no, 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 no. We're never leaving the marketing stage. Just so you know, we are always going to be here. We will get you the right message. We will get you everything. But what's going to happen inside here is we're going to try, test, and measuring all these different things to get
Yeah.
to the next iteration because the market changes. The dynamics that people are looking for are always constantly in flux. And if we're not up to date, we're going to be outside looking in. So we're constantly in the marketing stage, but we can build the rest of your business in the appropriate ways. But let's not forget about how important marketing is because it's a really hard thing to do.
And I love that you said that because that's where my creativity comes out. I can write, well, I can't sing and dance on Zoom, but I can, put my thought leadership out there, use the social media, email marketing, speaking events. I value that. Again, it feeds my soul. I connect with people, but it's a critical part to continue to be testing the waters to reach the people that might value what we're saying or what we can do with them.
100%. Again, you made a comment again about connecting with people, and there's no way to change that because that's part of what you do. That's part of how you run your business, which is exactly where you need to be because that's what makes business run people. Believe it or not, we've been talking for over 30 minutes.
Woohoo!
It goes by
This must
so
pass
fast.
by so
It
fast.
goes by so
Such a
fast.
pleasure.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Absolutely. What I wanted to ask you is one final question.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you in a time machine. I'm going to send you back, and you're going to meet 18-year-old Deb. You two
Oh my
find a park bench and have a sit down. What's that conversation sound like between the two of you?
God. Oh my God, oh my God. Well, first of all, I'm going to tell her what my mother is and stop being so pig-headed and stubborn and say I can do this myself. Because again, that's who became. I was a kid of the latchkey, the latch, whatever it is.
Latchkey kid. Yeah.
Yeah, latchkey. Yeah, like you don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to run yourself ragged. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to run away. Don't worry. Just do good work, but also don't forget about the people along the way because you have such a beautiful personality that people resonate with. It's not about the money. It's not about how many hours you're working. Just be you and be okay with that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, good one. Be you. That's a really good way to end it. Thank you for that. Really
It
good
was,
conversation.
yeah,
Um,
such a pleasure.
oh my God, thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts and ideas. Everybody can get in touch with you. Description down below. I have your contact information. I want people to connect and find a way to figure out what does the drop-in CEO make sense to you. Other than that, thank you so much for being here, and we will see everyone on the next episode of Legacy Leaders.